Hi, all right, noted. So, Meta won't be able to be here due to some urgent emergency, so I'll be continuing on with the presentation. All right, so good morning, everyone, and today I'll be presenting on the topic Internet Gaming Disorder, how much is good for cognitive functioning, and what is too much. So let's begin with a brief introduction. Internet gaming disorder, also known as IGD or video game addiction, is a recognized mental health condition by the American Psychiatric Association as well as the World Health Organization. The ICD 11 defines it as a pattern of gaming behavior that is characterized by impaired control over gaming, an increased priority given to gaming over other activities, to the extent that gaming takes precedence over other interests and daily activities. The DSM 5 also notes that Internet gaming disorder or IGD must cause significant impairment or distress in several aspects of a person's life in order to be considered as an issue. Alright, so the DSM 5 has clearly outlined the diagnostic criteria for assessing individuals who may have developed this disorder. The proposed symptoms of Internet gaming disorder include: first, preoccupation with gaming; second, withdrawal symptoms when gaming is taken away or not possible. Symptoms may include feelings of sadness, anxiety, irritability, etc. Third, developing a higher tolerance towards gaming, i.e., which can also lead to the need to spend more time gaming in order to satisfy the increased urges because the tolerance has built up to this point. Fourth, inability to reduce playing, including unsuccessful attempts to quit gaming. Fifth, giving up other activities or a loss of interest in previously enjoyed activities due to gaming. Sixth, continuing to engage in gaming despite experiencing different kinds of problems. Seventh, deceiving others about the amount of time that is being spent on gaming daily. Eighth, the use of gaming to relieve negative moods such as guilt or hopelessness. And ninth, experiencing risks, including having jeopardized or lost a job or relationship due to gaming habits. Under this proposed criteria, a diagnosis of IGD would require experiencing at least 5 or more of these symptoms within the span of a year. The condition can also include gaming on the internet alone or with other participants. Moving on to the rates of prevalence, Shibelsky et al. In 2017 conducted their research involving several studies of adults in the US, the UK, Canada, and Germany. They found that more than 86% of young adults between the ages of 18 to 24 and more than 65% of all adults have recently experienced or engaged in online gaming or internet addictions. Through their analysis, the researchers concluded that approximately 0.3 to 1% of the general population might be able to qualify for a potential diagnosis of IGD. Additionally, multiple studies, including the one conducted by Gao et al. In 2022, have reported that the incidence of IGD uh, was dramatically increased during the COVID 19 pandemic. Let's also briefly explore the connection of IGD with other mental health conditions. So, in their study conducted in 2012, Cuss and Griffiths found evidence that excessive gaming is associated with various mental health conditions, including depression, ADHD, and obsessive compulsive disorder. They also found that excessive gaming increased the brain activity in regions that are typically closely associated with addiction. Moving on to the potential causes. Now, there can be several factors that may cause gaming to go from being a hobby to becoming a compulsion that takes over your life or a compulsion that results in you experiencing or developing internet gaming disorder. Dopamine desensitization. So it's not so much the games that are addictive, but the act of playing and its overall effect on our brains. So this is because video games are extremely stimulating and can cause high levels of dopamine to release when playing. This increased dopamine feels good to the gamer during that moment, but can lead to their brain receptors becoming desensitized after some time. This makes them think that they must play more for longer hours to feel the same level of satisfaction that they once used to feel in a shorter duration. Escapism. Gamers often play to escape stress or distract themselves from other tough emotions or real life problems. Gaming has the unique ability to immerse an individual and distract them from these sensations from the comfort of their own home. When people with compulsions are unable to deal with their negative emotions, they may start to get overwhelmed and resort to playing video games again, and the cycle perpetuates. These escapist behaviors can also exacerbate existing mental health issues. Sense of belonging. Multiplayer gaming is a great way to build communities and virtually connect with like minded people. This is especially true if you're naturally introverted or you may feel or you are prone to feel anxious in social settings. As humans, our need for social interaction has to be satisfied, and video games offer this without having to meet face to face. The anonymity of interacting online makes it very appealing to those who are shy or suffer from social anxiety. Identity factors. IGD can affect individuals of all genders and ages. However, neuroimaging studies outlined in a 2018 study by Dawn et al. Suggest that males have a higher genetic predisposition to be susceptible to compulsive gaming. In summary, it explains that the areas of the brain that respond to addictive qualities of gaming, such as reward based behaviors and increased dopamine, show more activity in males as compared to females. Instant gratification. Video games create challenges that are very achievable and consistent, which can create a shortcut and distract us from important goals outside of our gaming lives. By gaining success through participating in such virtual challenges, humans tend to feel good when finishing these smaller tasks. Thus, gaming can be addictive because we're instantly gratified for completing these in game achievements. This reward system ultimately leads to reinforced behaviors, for example, longer hours spent on gaming. Moving forward, we have the health risks and concerns that are associated with internet gaming disorder. First, a sedentary lifestyle. Long hours spent sitting at a computer or in front of a device can take a huge toll on a young person's body. The lack of physical exercise involved in video gaming may also lead to health concerns about weight gain, poor posture, and an increased risk for type 2 diabetes. Secondly, lack of social engagement. Although video games require engaging with others in computerized environments, they don't necessarily prepare children for the realities of socializing with their peers. Third, problems with concentration and attention. There is some concern that the rapid movements and fast paced action of video games promotes a loss of concentration in players. Children who spend a lot of time playing video games may become less interested in reading books, for example, which requires more focused, prolonged attention. Fourth, avoidance of developmental tasks. Adolescence is a time for self discovery and personal development. In order to become mature adults who can take on the challenges of life, teenagers must also learn how to confront painful emotions and awkward social experiences. When used appropriately, fantasy role playing video games can help children learn and apply valuable character traits that may help them in their interactions with others. But when video gaming is used as an escape mechanism, it allows children to avoid the developmental challenges of growing up. Fifth, increased aggression or violence. So, children or teenagers who devote a lot of time to playing video games that focus on combat, fighting, or violence may display more signs of aggression than those who do not engage in these kinds of video games. Lastly, seizures and repetitive stress injuries. The British Medical Journal recently published an article in 2024 about the risks of video gaming for players who have epilepsy or other seizure disorders. The flickering graphics, lights, and the colors of video games displayed on the screen may trigger seizure activity in some players. There's also strong evidence that compulsive game playing may lead to repetitive stress injuries of the wrist or the hands. Moving on to the expert recommendations, studies conducted by Emmett et al. In 2022, Ajit et al. In 2024, Long et al. In 2024, and Pecci in 2019 have suggested the following guidelines to be followed when it comes to internet gaming for various age groups. For school going children under 6 years, the daily time duration is suggested to be kept between 30 to 60 minutes. For preteens between the ages of 8 to 12 years, the duration of an hour each day on school days and up to 3 hours a day on the weekends is suggested. And for teenagers, young adults, and older adults, the duration of 2 hours per day during the week and up to 3 hours a day on the weekends has been suggested. Alright, next we'll be discussing the treatment options for IGD. First, we have cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT, which is a very structured, goal oriented type of therapy. A therapist or psychologist helps the client take a closer look at their thoughts and emotions. The client is then psychoeducated and they get to understand how their thoughts are affecting their daily actions. Through CBT for internet gaming disorder, the individual can learn to can learn to understand how their negative and obsessive thoughts and behaviors are impacting their daily lives, and can also develop strategies to unlearn these behaviors and adopt healthier thinking patterns and habits. Second, group therapy. This is a type of psychotherapy in which a group of people meet to describe and discuss their problems together under the supervision of a therapist or a psychologist. Group therapy is a valuable source of motivation and moral support for people who are dealing with internet gaming disorder, especially if they've lost contact with friends or peers as a result of their high engagement in internet gaming. Family or marriage counseling. This type of therapy can help educate loved ones about the disorder and create a more stable home environment. It can also help establish a more honest and open pathway for communication between the family members of the individual in order to best support them through these challenges. Treating any other underlying mental health condition such as anxiety, depression, or ADHD is crucial for aiding individuals with internet gaming disorder, as addressing these conditions can alleviate the emotional burden as well as the psychological distress that often drives excessive gaming behaviors. Alright, so now we have a case study of Jay, a 24-year-old college student. So Jay spends most of his time gaming online while neglecting his college studies and close relationships. He constantly thinks about gaming and lies about the amount of time that he spends playing video games each day. When unable to game, Jay becomes restless and starts to get very anxious and is unable to focus on anything else. Despite his failing grades and strained relationships, Jay continues to prioritize his gaming habits over all other responsibilities. When he fails to manage his important responsibilities properly, Jay decides to seek professional support. Through consistent therapy sessions and practicing CBT techniques learned at therapy while at home, Jay learns to challenge his unhealthy gaming habits and develop healthier coping mechanisms over the next few months. His therapist also encourages him to involve his family to support him in this journey. Jay and his family also attend counseling sessions to address communication issues and help him set healthy boundaries around gaming. Alright, so now we have a small quiz for you all. So, my first question for the audience is: Internet gaming disorder affects what percentage of the general population? Is it A 1.7 to 10%, B 20 to 30%, or C 40%? Great, we have answers coming in right. A is the correct answer. Thank you so much. Alright. So, my second question is: please identify if the following statement is true or false. The incidence of IGD dramatically increased during the COVID-19 pandemic. If you're unsure, you can also take a guess. Right, we have answers coming in right. It's true. The incidence of IGD did dramatically increase during the COVID-19 pandemic due to very difficult times experienced by people and a lot of limited social communication. Alright, so now the third and final question for today. How many hours of daily internet gaming do experts recommend for adults? Is it A 2 to 3 hours, B 5 to 7 hours, or C up to 9 hours? Right, again, thank you for the participation, guys. All of your answers have been correct. And To conclude today's presentation, let's highlight three major topics that we've learned today surrounding internet gaming disorder and its treatment options. So, firstly, a holistic approach to internet gaming disorder management. This entails addressing not only the gaming behavior itself, but also the underlying factors contributing to it, which can include mental health, social, and lifestyle aspects for a more comprehensive and an effective treatment plan. Secondly, personalized treatment strategies. So each individual's journey with IGD is very unique. It requires tailored interventions that considers their specific needs, preferences, and circumstances to optimize treatment outcomes and support their long-term recovery. And thirdly, collaborative recovery journey. So recovery from internet gaming disorder involves a partnership between the individual, their loved ones, and healthcare professionals. This is made possible by fostering open communication, mutual support, and shared decision making in order to navigate these different kinds of challenges and achieve sustainable change in the individual's quality of life. With this, I reach the end of my presentation for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening in and being such a patient audience.